Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can I see you?
Yeah,
Let me see.
Right, Grace, can we see here? Internet has hear me.
yes, we can hear you.
All right, awesome. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session this morning. Just going to do a very quick introduction on house rules, and then we'll get started. So today's panel, which happens to be our very last one, session, it's titled "Theorizing Women in Nigerian Films." Um, This panel will be chaired by myself, Ezinne Ezekwe from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and I do have co-chairs who will be presenting today, Dr. Angelica Jina from Atlantic University and Dr. Elizabeth Olaiwola from University of Abuja. Okay, so we have just 4 presenters today. Angelica Jina, Delight Chibuzo Obaje, Elizabeth Olaiwola, and Adama Vivian Obiora, co-presenting with Anthony Obonna Uche. I'll be introducing the papers one after the other just before they start presenting. I just called the name. The way I call the names will be the order of presentation. Thankfully, I think everyone is here. I've seen Angoli already. Elizabeth is here. I don't know if Delight and Vivian's team are in the house. Okay. So everyone has 15 minutes presentation, no extra time, sorry. I'll be very stringent with the
We have only
timing.
4 presenters.
And we take all the presentations. We take
Sorry.
all the presentations
We have
back to
4
yes.
presenters now.
Yes.
Okay.
So Angoli, can the light, is the light in the house?
The light? No.
The light
No, not yet.
Okay. The light is not in the house. Is Vivian's team in the house?
No.
Okay, so we do not have 2 persons. We have 2 persons on ground. So we'll start with you, Angoli, and then we'll go with Elizabeth next.
Okay.
We'll see order to join. So we'll take all the presentations one after the other, and then at the end of the day, at the end of all the presentations, we'll take a Q&A. So if you have questions for each of the presenters, please keep it to the end of the presentations. If we have people who are joining us online, please also state your questions. I will come to you. All right. So we'll start with Angelica Gina. This paper is titled Popcorn with the Queens, Humanism in Igwe, Austin Peters, and Akindele. So, Angoli, your time starts now if you start sharing your screen.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Ezinne, for the introduction. The title of my paper has changed slightly. As you can see, it's Popcorn with the Queens, Legal Feminism and Social Impact in Amaka Ibe, Bolanle, Austin Peters, and Funke Akindele. Yes, I will pay for that by taking 30 instead of 15 minutes. Thank you so much. So in this paper, I want to reflect, thank you, on women and their films through the lens of what feminist scholar Obioma Nemeka called legal feminism, and also follow that with the so what question. That is the question that leads to assessing the social impact of the work and representational modes of women by 3 filmmakers, Amaka Igwe, Bolani Austin Peters, who I'll call BAP from now, and Akindele, who have left and continue to lead in indelible marks on the cinematic history of Nigeria, but which very little fragmented and dispersed literature has ever been written on. Several recent studies reflecting on Nollywood and women often focus on the negative representation of women, such as Okome's work, Agatha Ukata, Ezinwani Adam, and Jane Paris, and call for a revision of those narratives to present women as more than their emotions or sexual abilities. Some others fit this portrayal as either deepening gender stereotypes and inequalities or challenging them. This binary division by scholars, fueled in part by what scholars refer to as gaze regimes, often does not exhaust the possibilities of multiple portrayals of women whose roles continue to evolve, often in layered and complex situations. By Popcorn with the Queens, reference is made to going on a cinematic journey with women filmmakers to view the world through their lenses, in particular to interrogate how they envision Nigerian women in their films. It is also a reference to the positionality of the viewer or reader, not an audience ready though, and their ways of seeing filmmakers themselves who are women with agency, giving agency to their characters. Thus, and by extension, the interest here is the filmmaker's constructions of women on screen, leading to these two key questions. How can we read the articulations of legal feminism and social impact in and through the lives and films of Amaka Igwe, BAP, and Funke Akindele? What continuities and discontinuities are evident in their creative entrepreneurship approaches? Itself a series of negotiated practices and of their constructions of women. This paper sits at the intersection of film, media, and gender studies within the broader African cultural studies, thus permitting an entry and contribution to the aesthetics and gender history of Nollywood and creative women in society, both on and off screen. The methods adopted for this study include qualitative approaches, that is, interview-based methods, through media industry analysis, social media analysis, third-party interviews, and collaborators. So this is the outline. You've seen the outline of my talk, where I will look at the introduction and tell you what my key contents are, and then women in early filmmaking very quickly. Then I'll also examine legal feminism and social impact, the relevant contributions of women to Nollywood and social impact. Then I'll look at implications, and of course we'll open up for discussions at the appropriate time. So the absence of women as producers and directors has been witnessed in Nollywood from the early indigenous filmmaking practices of the 1970s and following. Women worked as writers in supportive behind-the-scenes roles and as actresses, as authors have noted, and even as an important filmmaker today, Melody Song, has also noted in her recently published book. Jonathan Haynes made important contributions about the representation of women in Nollywood's inaugural films. And it's intriguing what Haynes wrote about the women at that time, because as early as films like Living in Bondage or Glamour Girls and American Pretty Servants, we already saw women who were negotiating their agency at that time. Women who had power and used their power to achieve the results that they had. He made reference to Living in Bondage. Next slide, please. Living in Bondage, a film directed by Chris Obi-Rabo, and also in that film he showed where it features different kinds of women. Women that we call Proverbs 31 women, which are women who are submissive, docile, obedient in all spheres. Women who are also old, employees, women who are prostitutes or husband snatchers. So we see a variety of women depicted even in Nollywood film Living in Bondage, and not necessarily, women who are being misrepresented as the literature has tended to delve or focus on. In Glamour Girls, next slide please. Haynes makes the assertion about feminine agency and power dynamics in that film, and he even draws parallels between Glamour Girls, Never the Pretty Servants, and Living in Bondage. And he said that the great shift is to give so much power to the female figure, not Mary's virtuous power over Andy's, but Carol's kind of power to shocking extremes. So it's intriguing to hear power being written about, which refers to how women are represented, as opposed to what scholars after Haynes referred to as women being represented as powerless. Husbands are no longer the important thing. He wrote this quote in one of the important characters in Glamour Girls. You've got to make money for yourself, and then you can buy yourself a husband. Having seen that Haynes has, next slide please, having seen how Haynes has depicted or written about the women of early films, I want to move on now as an extension of that thought to women behind the scenes, not women in front of the scenes, as Haynes spoke about. The success of this film, next slide, please. This is Jedlowski's work now, where he wrote about women filmmakers as being figures of success. The success of a film industry as a business enterprise and the work of women in particular not only counterbalance the stereotypes, they also transform the entertainment sector into an avenue for women to achieve independence, wealth, and fame. And he used the frame figures of success to describe these women. In contrast, next slide, please, the system of patriarchy appears inherent in every aspect of life. Now, this is scholarship after Haynes and Jedlowski, saying that the system of patriarchy appears inherent in every aspect of life and living in Nigeria, including the Nollywood industry and in turn Nigerian movies. The end of this struggle is apparently not in sight, as culture and tradition continue to exert overbearing influences on Nigerian women and deny them their fundamental human rights. So what am I trying to say with these authors? My point is that in recent scholarship about Nollywood and its representational modes, we seem to be pitting women into contradictory or conflicting positions. That is, women are being represented as challenging stereotypes or entrenching those stereotypes. And my argument is women are doing many more things than these two, that these binaries are not sufficient to describe how women feature or how women are featured in Nollywood. There are many more. And I use the examples of these three filmmakers, Amaka Iwe, B.A.V. and Bunke Akindele, to underline the points that I have made. I draw theoretical insights, thank you, from the works of these people. Well, Laura Mulvey, but moving well beyond that to look at African feminisms as constructed, especially by Obioma Inemeka, who wrote about what she called legal feminism, that is negotiation feminism or no-ego feminism. And by this, she talks about seeking compromises, where women seek compromises instead of looking for how to detonate patriarchal structures. To discuss what Obioma said, legal feminism is a branch of African feminisms expounded by Nemeka, who expertly articulated and challenged the Western location of theory and its consequent applications in feminist discourses. Nemeka argued that Western feminists' lived experiences should not dictate all the narratives around feminism and should not necessarily inform how feminism is applied in other parts of the world, especially in Africa. Earlier today, I heard someone say we should not use Western Panadol to cure local headaches. I was so amused by that expression. This is a theory she described as negotiation feminism. That is a feminism of compromise, of give and take, of balance and proactivity, while rejecting the notions of against. In this system of knowledge, therefore, feminism knows when, where, and how to detonate patriarchal landmines. It also knows when, where, and how to go around patriarchal landmines. In other words, it knows when to negotiate with or negotiate around patriarchy and in different specific contexts. Thus, such a proactive approach allows us to unpack the lives of women, first of these filmmakers, and then the ones that they reimagine in their films. Next slide, please.
Minutes,
So
5 minutes only.
How much time do I have?
5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay, that's 10. Thank you. So I look at these Nollywood women. I'm interested in exploring all of these Nollywood women, but of course, for time and sleep, it's impossible to do so. But I invite lots of collaboration to people who want to examine the lives of these women because they are just so intriguing. Next slide, please. I wanted also to begin this section of my story on Nollywood women, next slide, by looking at the significant contributions that they have made. Yes, please continue. But because I have 5 minutes, I want to jump into the women in focus. Next slide, please. Good. Amaka Igwe is the first woman that I explore in this study. A very, very important and formidable filmmaker at the time. She has an educational background in theater arts, deeply inspired by television producer Lola Akini Kayode, She was an activist commercial filmmaker committed to social change and gender advocacy in very dynamic ways. She made 5 films. She was a trainer, a serial entrepreneur, as she described herself, and also a mentor. And we've seen lots of works and productions about her. Next slide, please. This is one of the documentaries that was made in honor of Amaka Igwe, and it was a testament to the fact that all of the women filmmakers who are operating today drew inspiration from this woman's work. Next slide, please. The other women of focus are Bonale Austin Peters and Funke Akindele, who are entrepreneurs also, but they're not solely driven by commercial success. Yes, that's part of their work, but not in its entirety. They bring a humanistic angle to their own arts, exploring history, culture, society, and they're also mentors of very many filmmakers, men and women alike. They reinvent African storytelling through feminist lenses. Yes, they challenge patriarchy, but they do a lot more than that. They also bring strategic innovativeness to their films and always speak about the difficulty of doing business in Nigeria. Next slide, please. This is just to describe who Bonale Austin Peters is, upper middle class woman whose father is Afebabalola, owns a university, and so many other interesting things about her. She's made more than 6 films now. She's also committed to social critique of national issues and highlighting women's roles in these films. The first film that she produced, next slide, she co-produced, is the film that honored Stella Adadebo, the woman who fought Ebola in the country. I could have shown you that film, next slide here, but I have less than 5 minutes, so I'm going to skip 93 days. I apologize. Then she also made the film, next slide, please, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, which many people have been speaking about in this conference. Yes, excellent production that she made there. But I want to get into the last filmmaker and then my analysis because my time is running.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Akindele is from a humble background, law degree, but she pivoted to film, to acting first of all, and established a name for herself as an actress before moving on to make 4 films of her own, films that have seen significant success in the last 4 years, especially when you consider that her first hugely successful film at the box office was in the year of COVID 2020, when people weren't allowed out. So the question is, how did she achieve all of these successes? Okay, so I moved to the slide that says, what do Igwe, BAP, keep going please, and Egwe have in common? They are unapologetic commercial women filmmakers who challenge and negotiate stereotypes, providing alternative, because this is what Obiamaka called for, alternative feminism, alternative and balanced perspectives to Nigerian life. Women's roles are no longer only in domestic spaces or as hypersexualized beings. There are women who have raised the tackle on, they've raised the lead on taboo topics, creating strong women of agency, inspiring lots of conversations, contributing significantly to the cultural and creative industries in the country, now being recognized alongside other professions like banking and medicine and so on. They are industry leaders in their own rights, promoting sisterhood and women's rights, while also critiquing women's foibles through layered depictions of life, love, and progress. Next 2 slides, please. In the fields of interest about these women, the next one, yes, here. Igwe's most celebrated film violated its gender-based violence, oppression, class conflict, centering the marginalized voice of Peggy, the lead female, shifting power roles that women have to negotiate their ways through in the narratives that she made. Bonale Austin Peters made the film Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, which I showed you previously. In that film, she reflects on the interconnectedness of gender, class, sexuality as colonial and indigenous resistance and protest, female leadership, multiple systems of oppression before emancipation is negotiated. And we have nuanced understandings of the which at all without actually treating this as binaries. In Funke Akindele's A Tribe Called Judah, she decriminalizes single motherhood among the lower class in an ethnically charged society. There is also the critique and celebration of robbery, humorized crime, and subversion of feminist sensibilities. I want to reflect now on their social impact, and there are the economic one. In 2 minutes, I'll round up is in the next one. The social impact of these women, the next slide, please. We have the creation of wealth, economic impact. There's been jobs, wealth creation, growth in household incomes. When Netflix released the report of what it's done in the Nigerian market, it said that it had generated over $200 million. Well, it had put in, but also raised over $200 million in 3 countries. There is the social impact of their work also. They are recognized now as filmmakers and prestigious contributors to national life. They have international visibility and mobility. They've attracted global audiences and also through educational exchange programs. But there's lots of undocumented social improvements, which my work is hopefully going to build. There's also the political impact of these women's work because they have been rising nationhood and feminism through top-down as well as bottom-up approaches. Something that we might usually refer to in this paper as cynical from below. They are now considered as public intellectuals, giving voice to women's situations and what we might also call African soft power. The cultural impact of their work, of course, is undeniable because we see the increased use of local language in their works. Featuring cinema, well, I should have put that in parentheses because I haven't sufficiently explored it, but it's something I'm playing around with. There's a growth in artistic and aesthetic expressions, fashion trends also, and the unprecedented growth in the industry. To conclude,
Holy.
I'm concluding
Your
right
2
now.
minutes is up.
I'm concluding right
Conclude
now.
in 30 seconds.
Okay,
Okay.
I will. Thank you. We've already seen what the 3 women have in common in their narratives and serial entrepreneurial attempts, in the leadership and mentorship positions, and in the personal and professional successes they have achieved, which in turn have created a ripple of social impact. The discontinuities of the filmmaking practices of the 3 women under consideration are shaped by the digital transformation and promotional strategies of marketing their films, of creating alternative platforms and merchandising films aided by internet-enabled platforms. Amaka Igwe promoted her films through posters, television, and radio, while the affordances of a social media enabled BAP and Akindele to publicize their work. Taken together, their efforts and films are negotiated spaces of struggle across class, economic, social, and political mobilities, the engagement of which is salient to our understanding of art and business, women's lives and identity, where we witness what Obioma Nnebeka referred to as the unfolding coexistence of feminisms in Africa. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Oh, Awoli, thank you for setting us 5 minutes behind time, but well done. Thank you. You managed your time. You managed your time well, actually. Thank you. So Elizabeth, you're up next, and Elizabeth from the University of Abuja will be presenting us with a paper titled Her Story in Motion: Intergenerational Contributions of Pentecostal Evangelical Female Filmmakers in Nigeria. Elizabeth, you can start sharing. Your time starts now. Remember to unmute.
Sorry for that drama. I thought I had it figured out. Ne. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Okay, I'll be speaking to History in Motion, Intergenerational Practices of Nigerian Women Filmmakers in Faith-Based Cinema.
Sorry, Elizabeth, but we can't see your slides yet.
Wow.
We can
It's
see
telling me that I'm
your,
sharing.
yeah, we can see your desktop, but you haven't opened the How Story in Motion. We just see a list of your documents.
Okay, I'll stop sharing and start again. Maybe there's a delay because I can see it from my end.
Okay. Okay, better. Yes, now.
Yes.
But is it on
Yes, no,
presentation
yes,
You
mode?
can see now.
yes,
Is it on presentation mode, please?
Yes,
it
yes, you
is.
Okay,
can go
thank
ahead.
you. Thank you very much. I'll be speaking to History in Motion, Intergenerational Practices of Nigerian Women Filmmakers in Faith-Based Cinema. So my paper explores the evolution of Nigerian women filmmakers within the faith-based film sector by foregrounding intergenerational practices among three groups of filmmakers, pioneering filmmakers like Gloria Bamiloye, Helena Pabio, second generation inventors such as Bola Konde, Okoyemi Akintunde, and third generation digital entrepreneurs like Laju Iren. The article examines how women have negotiated spaces of creativity, distribution, and religious expression, drawing on interviews, participant observation, and content analysis from 2016 to 2025. My study situates faith-based filmmaking within broader debates on gender, media, economy, and alternative cinema practices. So I argue that the Nigerian Pentecostal infrastructure, combined with new digital platforms, have enabled successive generations of women to reimagine religious cinema, challenging patriarchal traditions and foregrounding new entrepreneurial models. The finding offers critical insights into marginalized media culture and the dynamic role of women in contemporary African film industries. Because of my focus on intergenerational practices, I have also paid attention to the infrastructure of biography, tracing the diversity of the journey of these women. According to recent industry statistics, women are now leading box office charts and setting new records across multiple platforms, including digital spaces such as YouTube. As a result, scholarship on women in African cinema and Nollywood in particular has begun to reflect this shift, documenting how women continue to break through structural barriers and redefine their roles in the industry. Yet, despite this progress, one critical dimension remains underexplored, and that is intergenerational practice. Nollywood history is shaped by the contribution of formidable female creatives who play vital roles in building and sustaining the industry. By tracing this history through an intergenerational lens, we can uncover not only how women have contributed across time, but we also have their stories, strategies, and solidarities from the present, and which would inform our thinking about the present and the future of filmmaking in Africa. And so I have focused on the timeline between which these women started filmmaking as, as a marker for intergenerational practices and also their age. So early scholarly conversation on African women and film largely centered around the misrepresentation and underrepresentation of women, particularly in male-produced film. Much of the critical focus pointed accusing fingers at male directors and producers for their lack of commitment to representing female experiences with authenticity and depth. A pivotal voice in this discourse is Betty Ellerson, who on several occasions argued that women's voices in African cinema have been marginalized, not only within the industry, but also within scholarly fields and studies. Ellerson demonstrated that although African women are actively producing diverse audiovisual materials, their contribution remain repressed both in the industry and in the critical scholarship, and their narratives largely misrepresented. For instance, in her important intervention on African cinema, published across the year 2000, 2015, 2016, there is a notable omission of Nigerian women filmmakers, despite the fact that even at the time of her writing, pioneering efforts were underway within Nigeria's film industry. My intention here is not to castigate Ellerson, but to underscore the urgency of researching the contribution and evolution of Nollywood women filmmakers, especially given the historical patterns of omission from the broader African cinematic narrative. Without deliberate scholarly intervention, the vibrant and complex contribution of Nigerian women risk being slighted in global discourse. One of the ways marginalized groups have historically resisted mainstream dominance within cultural industries is by creating alternative networks that bypass established gatekeeping structure, which typically favor dominant group in the industry. For instance, within Nigerian film industries, persistent complaints from independent filmmakers regarding the monopolization of distribution by A-list producers and subsidiary companies linked to major distributions have featured prominently in nearly every major industry forum and conferences on the state of Nollywood. In response to what is widely perceived as a discriminatory distribution system, many filmmakers have increasingly turned to alternative modes of dissemination, particularly digital platforms such as YouTube have become a viable outlet for reaching audience directly. So my reference of intergenerational practices focuses on the time span between which these women started making film, like I mentioned earlier, and then their age. Because I remember in my first presentation of this paper, I was asked to redefine what makes these women of different generation, and I've had time to reflect on it a bit. So one of the most recognizable female figure in the Nigerian screen industry of the 1990s is Gloria Olushola Bamiloye, wife of the prominent faith-based filmmaker Mike Bamiloye. Together, they co-founded the Mount Zion Faith Ministries, where Mike Bamiloye served as the president and Gloria Bamiloye as vice president. The couple has been instrumental in pioneering various arms of the ministry, including Mount Zion Films, Mount Zion Christian Film Institute, and other arms such as.
Stop.
Okay, I took pause here to reconnect. She has also authored several books addressing themes related to women as singles, marriage, pastorate leadership, including resources specifically targeted at pastors' wives. She's in her 60s and have built a long acting career. Gloria Bamiloye's face became familiar in Nigerian audience from the earliest days of Zion film production, and her cinematic endeavors have not gone unrecognized, as she has been able to build fans of her own. Beginning with their first successful film, released in 1990, her contribution to the development of faith-based film culture in Nigeria is notable, particularly her work as an actor during a time when female participation on screen acting was still fraught with social and institutional challenges. As Betty Ederson, 2015, earlier rightly observed, women as actors have not always been embraced by their societies. Nevertheless, they have been dedicated artists, playing an important role in the evolution of African cinema. While Bamiloye has gone up to producing, but her role as an actress and building her craft for over the years should not go unnoticed. Because of
5 minutes. You have 5 minutes.
because of time, I'll move to Bola Akande. Bola Akande is representative of the second generation, a prominent figure among the second generation filmmakers. She carried a rich cinematic legacy as the daughter of the Nigerian legendary filmmaker of the 1980s, Ishola Ogunmola, popularly known as Joy University, graduating in 1992. Her passion for media and storytelling later led her to the United Kingdom, where she pursued a BA in Film and Media Studies at Manchester Metropolitan University and subsequently an MA in Filmmaking at the Manchester School of Arts, 2013. Further honing her technical expertise, she completed a certificate in cinematography at the London Academy in 2022. She's in her 50s and started making film 2007. Unlike first generation faith-based filmmakers who primarily relied on VCD distribution and local television broadcast, Akande harbored a broader vision for faith-based cinema. She aspired to position Christian narrative within holistic entertainment spaces such as commercial cinemas, in-flight entertainment. While she has not been able to get a mainstream distribution, she had attempted four-walling the cinemas. This means she buys the screen and then sells her own tickets independently. I'll move to the third gen, exemplified by Laju Even. Laju Even, popularly known as PL, an acronym for Pastor Laju, also known as the Lord Storyteller, exemplifies the figure of a multi-hyphenate creative. As she often describes herself, she is a woman with many graces. As simultaneously a preacher, filmmaker, author, writing coach, and a philanthropist. Her educational background is in mainly mass communication, where she earned her first and second degree from Covenant University and University. Filmmakers have the first generation try to define themselves as separate from mainstream. Laju position faith-based filmmaker right in the center of things, pushing to get her films on mainstream distribution panels such as Amazon Prime, where her film Loving Amanda is currently still showing. She's also attempted virtual cinema. In a 2025 interview with me, she explained the difficulties faced in securing viable mainstream distribution and how she's navigated that challenge by offering a new model, which she refers to as virtual cinema. She acquired digital infrastructure and then adapt the same techniques of marketing her books, market these films. And in her 2024 film, Danfa and the Rose, she said she was able to raise 26 million, which did not cover the cost of production, but she said have moved the needle a bit for the production company.
Round
So,
up now. Thank you.
while first generation evangelical filmmakers position themselves and their work as alternative to mainstream. We see the second generation strategizing for inclusion. And then with third generation, like Laju Eren, we see faith-based even setting pace for independent filmmakers. I thought I had a slide that said thank you, but I don't. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for managing the time well and giving us a great presentation. I don't know if Delight is in the house now. She says she's been looking, trying to find her way. Is Delight in the house now?
No, she's not.
Not yet. We have Adama and Uche. Is it Uche? Uche. Yeah, Uche. No? Okay, that's fine. So while we'll just start with question and answer so we save time. That works. Oh, she's here now. Is that Delight? No, she's not. All right, great. We'll start with our question and answers, and if Delight comes in, hopefully we'll have enough time to give to them. But yes, so thank you so much for the presentation and theorizing women and in Nollywood. Angudi, I do have something that popped into my head while you were talking. I thought I wanted to point that out before I forget it, and that's when you said there was the absence of women as directors and producers in the 1970s and 1980s. I don't know if you meant like total. Okay, so we are back.
Thank you. Yes.
Noisy house. Okay, so let's go to question and answer sessions right now, please. We'll give honor to those in the house. Do we have questions? If you do have questions, let's start asking. Does anybody in the house have a question? Please should start.
Okay.
Yes, you go.
Okay, thank you very much. To Anulika. Oh, I call her AA anyway. So to AA. For me, I am AK. Very brilliant presentation. I just want to say that Amaka studied religious studies, I think in UI, not theater. She gravitated towards the entertainment industry. And then secondly, I think you said something like maybe you didn't see literature on them, your 3 case studies. Yes, if someone doesn't start this discourse and the journey, then there will be no literature. I remember when I also started my doctoral journey on the post-Oshomison generation of dramatists in Nigeria. And I was being supervised by the very Oshomison I wanted to post. There was no literature. There was no literature on ground. I had to industry. But you called it Nego, Nego feminism. Is that your coinage? Is that the first time? Okay, I just building on what someone has said. So, yes, I think that is it. And I picked something from there. I did an article in 2010 and I was negotiating identity. That's for my generation, post-social and the rest of it. This is a very good one. And I believe that if we continue this conversation, we're going to have more people gravitating. You have won me over now. I'm now a convert. I'm going to women in film studies. I'm not going to say film studies blanketly now. I'll just so I'm now a convert. Thanks to Elizabeth, who has preached the gospel to me, and I've converted to the epistle according to AA. So I don't really have a question, but just to say that it's a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can I respond to that?
Thank you very much. Please
do. Okay, thanks. Thank you for the points that you made for engaging with this. I did read that Amaka is a study theatre at the University of Calabar, so I will have to question that again.
Maybe at the second degree.
Yes,
but first degree was religion.
Thank you. That's very useful information. I'm grateful. Legal feminism was written about by Obioma Nemeka. There's a 2004 article that I can share with you.
Okay.
And she did that by building, yes, and she did that by building on the series of African feminisms. Because she argued that all of these things can coexist together. She also is an advocate of the idea that we cannot continue to import theories from the West to use in African contexts because these contexts are so different. We cannot even begin to use the same theories for describing the lived experiences of Nigerians and Ghanaians and Malawians and all because there are differences even within the continent. So I found that very interesting and exciting. So I tried to bring it into this. Yes, I will continue to do this work because I think it's important for very many reasons. So thank you.
But you started with humanism in the initial title.
Yes.
Humanism is also
Indeed, it is.
open.
It is. Yes, but I agree with you. But I found Obioma Nemeka's ecofeminism much more robust.
More strength.
Yes.
Is it more because it's more recent or something?
It accommodates many others, and it makes the case for coexistence, for all of these feminisms to coexist alongside, depending on where, what you're studying and where you find yourself, instead of just bringing in that feminism that tries to resist, to reject. I particularly like her work because she calls for balancing. She calls for alternatives. There is a very powerful statement she made, and I'll try to paraphrase it, and I will end now, Madam Chair. Where she said that we cannot, as women, we cannot continue to resist or reject, right? We need to build alternative platforms so that people who are listening to us will be willing to give their time and resources to explore those alternatives. Because if you continue to resist and reject, then you lose an audience. You lose all the possible audiences that you could have because you're always against. So her feminism is a feminism of not being against. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While we're still on Angoli, well, I had the question now it's out of my head. And okay, actually, so you mentioned that Jonathan Haynes sort of described a balance in representation of women, even as far back as Living Bondage and Glamour Girls and all of that. I just wanted to see what was already happening in the 1990s with the women you're studying now. Is there any different sort of approach that their films are bringing on board when you speak in terms of female agencies? Is there something else that they are doing differently that sort of differentiates representations or the portrayals of women in those early days of Nollywood and sort of films that they make now? I'm just trying to understand if there was a balance then. Is there a difference that their own sort of films are any difference that it's being projected through their
Can
films?
I also ask my question so that
I
you
don't
piece
know.
it together before?
Yes, please. Okay,
I
great.
also find it intriguing when she mentioned that Jonathan Haynes, far back then already said we had wide range of women as against post, like Prof said, as against post-Jonathan studies that mainly said, these women are not well represented. They are either this or that. Then I now think again about Okume's work, 2003, 2004, 2007. He was describing that same kind of women, not the one Haynes described. He was describing these women that are always crying, these women that are always helpless. So how do you reconcile that? What do you think? What do you make of both arguments?
Thank you. Early this year, I presented a paper in Accra at a conference on creative entrepreneurship. And as soon as I finished, the Ghanaian men jumped up. No woman responded to me. The Ghanaian women jumped up and said, "What are you saying? Nollywood women have had agency since." And I found that funny, but I was also intrigued by that kind of response. So I probed further. I asked them what they meant by that. And they said to me, "We've known Patience Osoko as someone who does things, right? She reacts, but she also incites action. And for us, that's agency. And They thought also that there are many other women like her. Yes, that's the face of the strong, even aggressive woman that they know. And that was funny to me, but also quite instructive. So to respond to your question directly, isn't it about the different approaches of now and then? I think that one of the things that differentiates new Nollywood from old Nollywood, as documented by Boradeo Adejimobi, is in those early Nollywood films, the antagonistic woman was punished, right? That anti-heroine was punished. She was brought to book for what she's done wrong and all. But in today's Nollywood representations, the villainous woman is not punished, right? We see her in very many aspects, many different ways of representation, where she suffers, she thrives, she's punished, but she also gets out of it and all, and then we leave it open for the audience to decipher what's going to be her fate at the end of the day. One of the very strong examples I have for this particular argument, which I haven't added in my paper, is King of Boys. I like that film enormously because of what it does with the figure of Eniola Salami. Eniola Salami is many things woven into one. She's a devil. She's a saint. She's a philanthropist. She's a mom who cares. She's a businesswoman. She's a lord of boys, all at the same time. You have a love-hate relationship with this woman. You cringe at the ways that she hurts people, but you also cheer her on when she is confronting those political males in order to get what she wants. And that's how New Nollywood is today in the ways that, they represent women. So it's not this or that, but it's this and this and this and that. Because when we look at ourselves, we look at the women in this room, we're many things. We're not this or that, right? And all of these aspects of our lives need also to make their way into the films. That's why the feminism of alternatives, the feminism that negotiates, the feminism that allows different lived experiences of women to coexist is more appealing to my mind. Maybe I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you have. Thank you. If I throw that to you, Elizabeth, I don't know if I saw your hand up, AK. Well, don't shoot me yet. Elizabeth, if I twist this question a little bit and push it to you, in your analysis of the films from these women, right, what has shifted in terms of representation? Do we see this sort of women or representation of womanhood that is an embodiment of everything, all of every bit of this, rather than or are they simply evangelizing using the character of a woman? So you have to be this, or the proverb "there to one woman," for example, or is it an embodiment or an encapsulation of all of this?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you, Professor Anuli, for your robust response. Now I wonder how to approach my own response given this foundation you've laid. But anyways, so I think about what Anuli said about how women can be this and that, and I think through Christian narratives with the first generation filmmakers like Gloria Bamiloye and the kind of films she not only produced now, but the type she acted in years before she started producing, they were stereotyped to Proverb 31 woman. So patience is a virtue, and the women in those kinds of films have to win over unbelievers through their patience, have to win over their husbands through their patience. And this means that they have to go through a number of challenges and continuously make excuse for the men as being under the influence of demonic attack. And so this woman keeps praying. So she's the woman that puts everything together, holds it all down. While to be fair to the representation that people like Gloria Bamiloye project, you see some sort of attempts to balance the private sphere from the public sphere. as against what we had with old, permit me to say old Nollywood, the VHS Nollywood, where women were either in the house or out of the house. And mostly when they're out of the house, they have to suffer for it because the house becomes neglected. But here you see permissive. That's the kind of word I use. It kind of permits women to work in the public sphere, but emphasis on balance, and the responsibility is always laid on the woman to create that balance. That so why it's okay for you to negotiate public space, you must continue to be the one that goes the extra mile to balance both sphere. But with third generation filmmakers like
Anthony,
Laju
please,
Iren, you
can you
see a
mute
total
yourself?
change.
Sorry, Elizabeth. Anthony, can you mute yourself? We'll round up in 3 minutes and then we can start with Delight.
Okay, yes. Okay. So with third generation like Laju Iren, you see something completely different happening with her representation of women. Even the roles she herself plays in her films. So she plays sometimes like this pastor who is also like a pastor in short knicker and sleeveless shirt. You know, that's kind of modern up mobile field pastor who is on the streets speaking to commercial sex workers and then back in church, you know, that kind of figure. That's what she herself exemplified. And in my interview with her, you see that it's intentional because she made reference to costume must be realistic, you know, referring to first generation filmmakers. She was saying that we need to create more Christian films that address day-to-day people, that Christians are not aliens, that, you know, they're everyday people. I'll let the lights.
Thank you very much. We just have Delight, if you're ready, that's fine. I wanted to finish at exactly 1 o'clock, sorry, 12 o'clock your time, and then we'll have Delight start. But unfortunately, you can only have, say, 12 minutes for your presentation. I see Anthony is also online. 12 minutes for your presentation. I'll have the very last few minutes to have any Q&A for you. So if there is a very quick question for Angoli and Elizabeth, we'll take one more, just one more in these 2 minutes. Just a question, there might not be any response or final thoughts. Yes, I see a hand up there. Please make it as brief as.
No, it's I didn't hear you. I don't think that. And I know that he was very active. The literature, if you go to the so that's it.
Elizabeth, did you hear your question?
We can't hear her. We can't hear her. No.
Okay.
Do you want to give it back to
I'm
us?
not saying by way of documentation. Someone like Elena Pablo should also be mentioned.
I did mention her. Maybe you're out of the room.
That's why I said maybe I did.
Yeah, maybe it was when that network happened. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So our next presenter is going to be Delight. So Delight is from University of Nigeria, and the title of her presentation is Reframing Femininity in Nollywood, the Evolution of Feminism in the Industry. So Delight, please start when your time starts now. You have just 12 minutes for your presentation.
Sorry, we have to hold on a bit. I don't know if Anthony Ogbonna Uche is also presenting. If you can go ahead.
Anthony should be presenting. So Anthony, are you ready for your presentation?
So while we are called.
All right,
yes,
so Anthony's paper is great. Anthony is co-presenting with Adama Vivian Obiora. Adama is from Chukwuemeka Odumewu Ojukwu University, and Anthony Ogbonna Uche is from the Federal Polytechnic Polytechnic Offa. The title of the paper is Breaking the Glass Ceiling, Womenpreneurs and Leadership Beyond Nollywood. You have 12 minutes and your time starts. If you share your screen, please.
We're not sure when we're coming. Trying to see what we get when you will get.
Anthony, can you share your screen and start your presentation, please? Anthony, can you hear us? Okay, please. We lost Anthony again. If the light is ready, we'll go on with the light.
So we are still trying to get presentation slide.
Can I start?
You can start. Just start. So once your presentation is ready, then I'll play.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So my name is Tilani. I am from the University of Nigeria. I'll be talking about training community.
Yes,
Speak now so that they can hear.
yeah, those online.
Right. So I'll be speaking on framing femininity in Nollywood, the evolution of feminism in Nollywood. And so some of the key frameworks in my studies feminism, portrayal, patriarchy, women, Nollywood and film culture. So basically my paper's objective is to clearly accentuate the progress of women and feminism from olden to contemporary movement, and also to bear the influence of women filmmakers in Nollywood. The field theory or the theoretical framework I have engaged in this paper is the feminist field theory. Now we'll begin by stating what Nollywood is here. So Nollywood was called in 2002 by the word that used to describe the Nigerian film industry as we all know. And feminism, which is the cause name my study is about, is a movement that seeks for women's rights, equality, and women's empowerment. It also challenges patriarchy and its ideologies, and it advocates for social justice for a woman. Feminism in learning basically reframes the portrayal and the misrepresentation of the identity and worth of a woman in Nigerian films. So the feminist film today, it basically explains the representation of women, feminism, and its ideology in film. So it primarily places a woman's place in film. That is its major concern. That's what the theory is about. Its major concern is where is the woman's place in film. And so there are two key figures in this theory, and it's Laura and Claire Johnson. And Laura Mulvey, that's her name, that's her full name. Her name is Laura Mulvey and Claire Johnson. Laura Mulvey explains how the camera, the character, and the spectator objectify the female character and makes her into a spectator. It explains how the camera is used to antagonize a woman. And so Claire examines the myth of woman in classic cinema. She argues the way in which you can eliminate patriarchy, and she states that it is through the adaptation of ideologies that challenge patriarchy and try to reconstruct human strategy. So I also adopted the African feminism as a feminist approach for this study, and it contextualizes feminism and prioritizes the experiences and challenges faced by African women. So it also recognizes the intersectionality of patriarchy, economic and social expectations and experiences of women, and in ways in which the society can collectively take efforts to achieve women's empowerment. So some of the movies I have used, this study adopts a qualitative content analysis as its methodology, and some of the films I have picked for this paper are I chose them according to the decades. I started from the 1990s, and I go with Living in Bondage and Glamour Girls. That is for the 1990s. And then The Mistress for the 2000s. And then Dry for 2010. Lionheart and King of Boys for early and most recent or contemporary Nollywood. So in this Living in Bondage, Glamour Girls, we see step by step, we see how analyzing this movie side by side, we may side by side our contractive analysis of this group to see how Nollywood progressed gradually and how gradually, step by step, started representing women in a better way. And we started mirroring women. You know that in the early Nollywood, just as we see in Living in Bondage for Glamour Girls, Living in Bondage is the story of a man who chose material things over his wife. His name was Andy Okeke, and he killed his wife for ritual. And then Glamour Girls is about 3 girls who came to Lagos from greener pasture, but they eventually became prostitutes and started doing things and so we see how over time, these Nollywood movies have mirrored women as just prostitutes. Most of the themes, prominent themes in these movies were usually prostitution, materialism, sexualization, and objectification of women. You see that there was no progress until the early 10s. That's when we see we use Dry as an example, which mostly, instead of attacking on the woman's character and image, it showed us the struggles of women, and that's where we see Halima. She was a 12 years old. She was a 12-year-old, and she was married off to Sani, a 60-year-old man who tortured her. And so we also speak on Lion Hearts, which was produced in 2018. And then a side-by-side analysis of Living in Bondage and Lion Hearts. See, Living in Bondage was named one of the most successful movies of the time. And then Lion Hearts also attained a really good, yes. And so we see also the King of Boys, how we see from the movie used in July 2014, we see how women, it no longer was the attack of women as it was earlier. We started saying, oh, this is how women, it was no longer as if women had to fight so hard. This movie started showing this is the actual experiences of a woman. It was no longer as if it was such a hit and attack on the character and image of a woman. And so my analysis and my findings, and so as I have explained, living in bondage borders solely on the weakness of the woman and her vulnerability. The loud yet unsaid acts of misogyny, the subtle communications of a woman's worth that is so small that her life had to be taken over material things. And that is why Andy, her husband, who she had put her trust in, took her life over money, material things. And then at the end, he got just, I wouldn't say justice, but he asked for forgiveness and then he gave his life to Christ. And then there was redemption for him. But the woman was not, she didn't get a chance to redeem herself. But in Lionheart, it showed the strength of the woman. And also just like Salami's movie, King of Boys, it showed regularly we know in the society, it's always the men in politics that control all the power. But with King of Boys, we were shown how much power a woman can control in the political field when she really wants to go down that route. So the continuities and the discontinuities we discussed in the Nigerian film culture in the past year, although the storytelling has been preserved anyways, but with the help of new and introduction of new technologies and better ways and where women filming, we see there's been a shift, a very, very obvious shift. And we see that's where we see people such as Funke Akindele, Kemi Adetiba, Omoni Oboli, who have stepped out and have basically become the powerhouse of Nollywood in the recent time. We also see inclusivity and less traditional expectations in the new age. Usually it will be just women, they do nothing, they just wait for the man. The man is their life, the man decides whether they breathe or not. But the new Nollywood is less flashy. You see women choose what they want to become. And also, this hypothetically, the rise of feminist Nollywood has impressively impacted on social change by encouraging conversations about representation, feminism, equality, inspiring voices and women to break boundaries that confine them in the film industry and beyond. So the conclusion of my work is, and the recommendations I would like to give out there, is for a continuous strengthening of the feminist movement in Nollywood, where women must take on more roles. You know, there usually were arguments, they say, but women were actors. You see that they were more or less mannequins. It was mostly men in the field. It was mostly, if men were the producers, members, the directors, the women were just giving scripts and they would say, you have to do what is given to you. But now it is mostly women, and women now are rewriting what the stereotypes. The stereotypes are become less, and women are now rewrote whatever it was that was known about them. And then women must take on roles on and upstream with the intention of changing the hostile image of women mirrored by this stereotype outfield and theory against women, and establish more communities and organizations that involve better representation in women.
Thank you so much, Zulai. Thank you. You've saved us some 3 minutes, and we'll jump straight in. We'll take questions. Hopefully, we'll have a few more minutes at the end of the presentations. But if we jump onto you already, Anthony, I see you online. Please, if you can start sharing now, you can start your presentation. You have just 12 minutes, and then we'll have questions at the end of your presentation. Presenting, I've read that King the Glass Ceiling, Womenpreneurs and Leadership Beyond Nollywood. Your time starts now, please.
Thank you very much. The topic is already stated. Thank you very much. It's in there, Breaking the Glass Ceiling, Womenpreneurs and Leadership Beyond Nollywood. As an introduction, noted that since the inception of the Nollywood film industry, women have been showcasing their talents. They have been playing one role or the other. Then it will note that increasingly women have been calling the shots, as it were, aside from featuring as actors, actresses, as it were. They have also been, they have become producers, as we all know, directors, or even production companies, which is a very good development. And I also noted that outside the Nollywood, because we are talking about even leadership beyond the Nollywood, there are individuals who are already calling the shots in the ICT world. The tech individuals like Linda Ikeji, Uche Pedro, and beyond that, we know there is also a figure soaring high in the pharmaceutical industry in the person of Stella Okoli. So the emerging trend is that women are transitioning into entrepreneurial and leadership positions, not just in the creative industry, but across all sectors of the Nigerian economy. Right? As our statement of problem, we noted that there are many challenges confronting women. Sometimes the role that they play, they have limited roles. Sometimes they are expected to play underdog roles, especially when you have men that the directors, as it were, and also we have lack of opportunities being given to them, gender discrimination and gender-based violence, according to OFORI 2024. So the objective we set out to explore in this study is to showcase select womenpreneurs in the industry, Nollywood industry, and even outside Nollywood industry, and how they broke the glass ceiling in a patriarchal society just as ours. So we reviewed a number of literature. We noted that women in Nollywood have risen beyond just being mere screen queens, as some would like to call them. They have gone beyond that to become the promoters in the industry, the producers. Notable figures have already been read out in the course of this conference, the likes of Tope Oshin, Genevieve, Kemi, and Funke, and so on and so forth. And also we noted that there are individuals who even outside the Nollywood are still doing well. Linda Ikeji, for instance, she has gone beyond even what she's doing. She has ventured into the Nollywood industry with her latest movie that's already showing at the cinemas. So this set of women, they generate employment. This set of women foster innovation. They promote empowerment. They challenge gender stereotypes, and they broaden the feminist discourses, both in media and in culture. So our conceptual framework, there are key concepts in this study. The matter of glass ceiling, which, as we all know, is just like a proverbial height that a woman, as it were, is not expected to go beyond. It is usually placed there by society, especially in a patriarchal society as ours. So anybody attempting to go beyond that is seen as, this is more or less, a taboo or not the norm, as it were. So the womenpreneurs, I see that as we define, gone beyond that peg that has been placed on them, as it were, by carving a niche in a male-dominated sphere that is set precedent for inclusivity in leadership, which creates ripple effect of empowerment across various fields of human endeavor. So this set of women not only create employment opportunities, they drive innovation, they inspire young generations to challenge patriarchy and societal limitation in order to pursue their dreams courageously. The methodology for this study is designed as a qualitative study, using storytelling and case studies to assess how these womenpreneurs are breaking into hitherto male-dominated roles and establishing themselves in leadership, both in and beyond the creative industry. So the data we generated, we analyzed thematically. So, theoretical framework, this study is underpinned by two theories, the feminist theory and the transformational leadership theory. Now, when we talk about the feminist theory, we have the first wave, that's the early 90s, as it were, late, actually, 19th century. And then we have the second wave, the third wave, and even the fourth wave. Fourth wave is where you have the likes of Chimamanda Adichie. And we have those who are liberal when it comes to this feminist perspective. We have those who are radical, all right? We have those who are Marxist or socialist, as it were. We also have the postmodern feminism. However, we noted that feminist theory queries the beliefs, the structures, and the system that reinforce inequality in society. So it advocates for equity, for women's rights, and empowerment in both socio-cultural and economic contexts and spheres. Then the transformational leadership theory, developed by McGregor Bonds with further input by Bars, depicts leadership as a process of inspiring and facilitating change. It's different from other kind of leadership theories. This one is transformational. It emphasizes change. It inspires, it enhances the morale of individuals. So we noted that these two theories are in line with womenpreneurs who are not just passive participants in the Nigerian economy. They are architects and drivers of social change, and they are serving as mentors and role models for others to follow.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
And this
4 minutes. Yes.
The first case study here is Genevieve Naji, who started her career even as when she was very young at age. And she, played a role in Ripples, a TV soap opera. She went beyond that, to win or to be screened for Academy Award. And she established a fashion line, a screen queen, as it were. She established a fashion line called St. Genevieve. She also co-founded 10, the entertainment network. So beyond all this, she was also involved in charity. Funke has been overflogged, as it were. We know about the issue of Jennifer, where she played a role as a village girl trying to survive in the bustling and hustling city of Lagos. All right, everybody loved Jennifer. It has become a household, film, as it were, right? And it has jumped over 1 billion in the box office. All right, so beyond that, she also ventured into politics. So telling you that she had gone beyond Nollywood, as it were, and she has a foundation that supports the empowerment of women and so on and so forth. The third one is Linda Ikeji, who from just a humble blogosphere, she has developed into a global icon when it comes to the issue of social media, television, radio. She's equally there. And she has ventured into movie production. As I noted earlier, her movie is Reverse. And the next is Uche Pedro, who founded Bella Niger as far back as 2006, and she grew it into a multimedia company. Okay, her leadership skills have made her to venture into BN Style, BN Weddings, even Brainstone Limited, which oversees her, media enterprise. We have Stella Okoli, who transitioned from being just a mere pharmacist, as it were, and founded the Enzo that we know about. Enzo Pharmaceutical Company, we know about Enzo Paracetamol. She has gone beyond pharmaceutical. She has established an entrepreneurial center, a very strategic place at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, where she built a center in memory of her late son, right? She founded the Chike Okoli Foundation, and she has been involved in all manner of charity. So the findings, which we showcase in terms of themes, are courage and doggedness, versatility and diversification, purposeful leadership, and leveraging of digital technology. The courage and doggedness of these women have been seen. Without courage, you cannot make it, even in the movie industry. Some people are being compelled, let's say compelled, so people, to play a role, some of the underhand dealings that happen, but these ones have gone beyond that to call the shots, which is very, very encouraging. It's by virtue of their courage, by virtue of their dogged determination. And then we see the versatility. They've gone beyond that. They venture into several other things, and they are not just there playing underdog role. No, they are calling the shots. They are in leadership position. They diversify. There is purposeful leadership. They are able to hold their own, as it were. They are able to employ not just the female folk, but also the males. So they are breaking barriers on all fronts, and they are contributing to the growth of the economy. And of course, we know that they're leveraging technology in all these. So in conclusion,
One minute.
Thank you. I
Just
say in
one
conclusion, womenpreneurs are redefining and rejigging leadership roles beyond Nollywood. So through their innovation, resilience, doggedness, and focus and vision, these women challenge all visible and subtle barriers. And this set of women continue to chart the course for others. And as such, remain beacon of hope for women both in Nigeria and Africa at large. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presentations. We are left with 7 minutes for quick question and answer session for 2 of them. Please, if we just stick with just 2 of them, Anthony and Delight, that would be really useful. I don't see any question in the house, except Elizabeth, you have something. But I do want to say something real quickly before I open up to the house. Delight, you mentioned that a shift in technology is in the course of your discussion. I was just wondering what the impact of that is on the rise of feminism in Nollywood. But of course, I do understand that the technology becoming user-friendly is allowing more women to get into the industry, but that will be perhaps in the behind camera, behind the scene, not behind the scene, but in the technical areas, right? But I'm just wondering what impact that has, or what role that has to do, what it has to do with feminism or rise of feminism. But anyways, there are other things I wanted to talk about, but let's just go with questions. Do we have questions in the house, please, for either Delight or Anthony? Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, I see your hand. Okay, please go on.
Thank you very much, Ezine. Delight, yes, brilliant presentation. I don't know whether this is our first appearance at the conference. It is. Please, let's give her a go. I just suspected, but she did it very well. And my question to her is, eliminate patriarchy. Is it possible? That's one. For her case studies, I heard her mention about 7 films. Am I correct? Hey, why too many? I mean, there are too many. Just, prune them down and concentrate on at least 3 so that you can have more depth to deal with them. For Anthony, Bona Uche, thank you very much, and Vivian Nobiora. How they broke the glass ceiling. Yes, who placed the glass ceiling there? If I could take from what Ezine just said about technology and the rest of them, I noted it before, is Or was technology the glass ceiling that the women have now broken or they released? I mean, they removed. Because I was expecting that soonest or latest, women were going to come out of their order, if I can use that word. It's like the allegation is that men have kept them indoor for too long. So now that we're having them coming out, that's a very good one. Because I've read a lot from female novelists, I was trying to recall some authors, but I couldn't. And we had even, male authors writing about women in the West, giving them positions like Anthony has argued. So the specific question to Anthony is that, can you say the technology represent the glass ceiling that they are now breaking and all of that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See, we have 3 minutes for response. So if we start with you, Delight, to respond real quickly, and then Anthony can respond real quickly.
My answer to your first question, can patriarchy be
Eliminated.
I would say patriarchy is the identity, is what society are doing as the identity anymore. While I think it cannot be completely eliminated, I think it can be, which is why, especially where my study borders on, which is in film and Nollywood. It was, like I said earlier, it was really male centered in the industry. It was actually structured, really structured in the industry. But with the way women came, with the rise of more filmmakers, and came less. So while the society has made that it cannot be eliminated, but it can be fought. At least let there be a fair equity. Let it not be that we are pushing all the men in. It will be that while there are men who are rooted, there are also women who are rooted, and nobody is oppressing the other. Nobody is making the other feel less. For the second question, I chew them from decades, and yet I could have removed. Yes, some of them there were two. Especially for the night, there were two. Yes, because the first living in Ghana, I used
Thank
to
you,
live in
Delight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delight. Thank you, Delight. I think you've answered this question. Anthony, do you want to take 1 minute, or we'll just have 1 minute? Do you want to take 1 minute and then I respond to your own question? Anthony, are you here with us? All right, in the absence, okay. Well, we can't hear Anthony anymore, but can we just say thank you so much to everyone who is who is present?
Thank you. Just breaking up too.
I'm sure that we have.
Yes, we finished.
Other panels that
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We must take out of this place. Thank you so much to the panel.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to take pictures before we go with the
In your picture.